uh, Dr. Yi. Welcome to Monterey.
Oh, thank you. It's such a pleasure.
Oh, it's wonderful to have met you. And we already had an interview with him yesterday, but I did not film that. So I got so excited about meeting you, Dr. Jean, that I was telling you I got up at 4 a.m. and had to write about that meeting and what I learned. Um, you are working through this method with the brain. And it's very, in my mind, revolutionary. I would like you to tell our public how what was your career and how you came up with this method that now you're sharing even with people in Monterrey, Mexico, Mexico City, and several cities in the United States.
Oh, very well, Christina. I think this is um, I'm flattered and to have such a praise here. And then I also met with many scientists here, and I found that scientists and clinicians in Mexico, particularly here in Monterey, are very warm-hearted, open-minded, and then very well-trained. So I feel extremely excited to have a chance to work with people in this beautiful cities. And to answer your question, how I got this idea, this is just one of the idea out of my other probably dozens of them.
This is
I have a lot of ideas, so that all I have is
oh,
just idea, but I don't know how to improvise them properly. Uh, I started as a psychiatrist.
oh, you did.
I'm still a psychiatrist, but I probably, I don't know if I say this correctly, but I will say I'm an anti-psychiatry psychiatrist. So I think,
Wonderful! Because I have been in touch with a lot of psychiatrists, and it's very, with all due respect, it's very frustrating.
it is, it
Very
is.
frustrating.
And I'm
Even
not,
that the treatment with people that are mentally ill,
mhm,
it's terrible.
it is,
Just a
it,
psychiatric institution per se is dehumanizing.
absolutely. And then the problem for me, I'm not saying the psychiatry as a career, as a discipline in medicine is wrong. And this is, the most devastating the health issues in humanity. Uh, but I feel that we're so far behind compared to other medical development. And of course, we're dealing with the most difficult disease in maybe human beings can ever deal with. And first of all, the brain, human brain, is a highly complex system that I'm wondering with our own mind itself is we can ever solve the problem. So that I remember 30 some years ago when I first decided to be a psychiatrist, and my father, he is a philosopher, sort of laughed at me. He said, half joke, half serious. He said, it proves how dumb you are. But he said,
He was referring to how undeveloped was psychiatry.
no, he referred me because psychiatry was is a career sort of under such a stigma that they're not the mainstream, and you choose psychiatry indicated that you're not that smart.
Oh,
And he
no
go, and
kidding.
we were joking, and then he said, "You got to convince me what makes you to believe to use your dumb brain to figure out why it's so dumb." I mean, that's a really good question. And now, 30 some years passed, my dad is 94 years old now. He still call me. He said, "Have you figured it out yet?" Close, but it probably will never figure it out. But it indicated one thing: this is a not simple task. This is we use our own mind, intelligence, to understand what the intelligence is. This is not an easy job. So I started as a psychiatrist, and I finished my resident training back in China, and because I love mental disorder studies so much, I finally decided to move my bed into a large inpatient hospital. I live with the patients together,
No kidding.
and I
That
learned quite a bit
oh,
what the mental disorder is,
that's so amazing.
and
That's so amazing. It reminds me of the famous Dr. Patch Adams.
I
So you decided to bond with the that
the
were
people
there.
I decided to help, but I don't know what to help with. Besides I may understand them more, so that I live there and then understand quite a bit of what the mental disorder is. But I wasn't happy because there was a time pharmaceutical industry boosted up and they made lots of new drug. And so one day I tasted the medication myself. I gave it to the patients. And that drug,
And you taste
I
it.
tasted. I only tasted one pill, but I gave patients like 20, 30 pills. So that one pill knocked me out for 36 hours. I go, wow, that's not the right humane way to treat our mental disorder. So that was in 1985. I decided to go to United States to further pursue my other research career. So I came to the United States and then worked at UCLA and then later joined the UC Irvine. So that was the place I had a chance to access a lot of new technology, including PET scan, MRI, and EEG. So, back in the 1980s, and study is relatively easy, so that we can, as long as we have funding, we have a gadget, and then we can study subjects any way we want. So there was a time that I had a chance to understand how that complex organ, which we call the brain, metabolize the energy and how the brain encode information, that kind of things. So that was a great time, by the way, and I studied everything. And then I started to use the knowledge I gained from my laboratory to look into a variety of mental disorder patients. I found it was quite amazing that our human mind, we take into account that as a brain function, is not necessarily the purpose of the brain. The brain, just like any other organs, any other cells, the purpose of a brain is rather to survive. They don't care. The cell, they don't care how smart you are, how much you can talk about your experience, like what I do. The neurons simply say, I want to be stable. I can survive better. So from there, I start to look at the physical nature of the brain. What is a strategy that neuron like to work in that way? And ever since then, I put a lot of effort into the stability measure, mathematical model. What is the strategy the neuron want to work? Later, I found that the neuron is no different from any other creatures in the organic or inorganic world. For example, you have water molecules. If you unplug the tub, the water just going down, but instead of it suck it in, they go like a swirl.
They
right?
do, but because of gravity and
The gravity,
and the polar.
the gravity, the potential difference. But the interesting thing is that water always form a certain pattern to going down in a very symmetrical pattern. When you see our tornado, all these molecules in the air, they also like to form a very unique pattern
And
in
the
such
birds,
an order.
when they fly.
Birds fly, fish in school, butterfly fly from Mexico to Canada. They're all in this swarm pattern. So I found that our neurons work almost more or less the same way. They like to form this swarm cohesion, and later I found that the purpose for that is to reduce the uncertainty in the physical term in order to save energy. If the total energy level is lower, then the system is more stable. So I go, this is a fabulous.
Oh, so if it's lower, the system itself
In energy
and the energy, if you spend less energy, all the system of
is
the brain
more stable.
more stable.
That's right.
Okay.
So later, we studied how the brain encodes information. We found that the cognitive function, which we take into account so seriously, whether we see things, we can think, we can perceive everything, is a byproduct of this survival strategy. So when you synchronize your brain, all of a sudden, you form up this spatial cohesion that it can encode information. Information never encoded in a single cells, encoded in a population. Just like when you see
collaboration between all those cells.
That's right, collaboration or association. So when you see a school of sardine from distance, the pattern of a sardine tells a lot more than the sardine itself when you catch that fish. Okay, so that's the model we're looking for. And I figured, what is the best way to please the neuron instead of please the person? Okay, that's a very different strategy. I want to stabilize the brain to see if the behavior will follow that. So that's how we, the principle we set many, many years ago. So that in the past 30 years, I've been involved in the research using light, sound, a variety of stimulation to see if I can tune the brain, make the brain more rhythmic. And then the other side work I've done is related to meditation. So I record a whole lot of people, they have experience of a transcendental meditation, Tibetan type of meditation, Zen from Japan, so many schools of meditation. The common thing out of those practice is that they can synchronize the brain, make the brain more symmetrical so that the energy level is lowered. I go, wow, that's a fascinating.
I see.
Okay, so I want to do meditation.
Yeah, that's because meditation is one of my subjects. So, wow,
that's
yeah.
great stuff. Okay, but meditation is not easy
No.
to do. I know. I try to learn myself. You can tell my brain probably will be even busier than yours. I cannot sit still. I cannot close my eyes for that long. So I tried. I failed. Okay. So I go, what is
It's
the best
quite a
way?
challenge.
It's a challenge, yeah.
It's a big
So I
challenge.
try to find out what is the other way to achieve the same effect, or maybe just slightly less. So I compared the brainwave in those meditated people versus the people without a meditation experience, like myself, and I found that the only difference is how synchronized the brainwave is. And from my early study, I know the brain can be tuned up by sound, light, and everything. So that I was thinking anything I can more directly manipulate the brainwave. So that's how I, was thinking. That was a late 1990s. So that just come out of nowhere, one company I work with on the EEG happened to have another magnetic machine. I go, wow! Now just like a light come out of my mind. I go, yeah, I can penetrate the magnetic pulse without the damping because our skull is like a plastic or wood. You put a magnet on top and then you can move the bottom. The magnet will go. So I go, I can penetrate the magnet through my skull, and if I can repetitively pulsing the magnet and then the frequency match my internal frequency, I can cause a resonant response, which is a tuning effect, just like a radio set.
Like when you tune a piano?
Exactly the same idea.
Or radio.
Yeah, radio, right? I go, aha, now I finally find this. But this is not easy commitment, because back then, in late 1990s, I was on a team to study the safety of cell phone. The cell phone emitted about a couple hundred milligauss of electricity, a magnetic pulse. We don't even know how safe it is.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is it safe?
I can tell you it's very safe because we're using this magnetic machine. It's a 4 Tesla. So the idea is that 1 Tesla is a 10,000 Gauss. 1 Gauss is a 1,000 milligauss. So now I use Tesla level of intensity to treat my brain. I think a couple of hundred milligauss is very safe.
Okay.
So,
cell phone is much less than
what
you're giving
less
to me because he's giving to me this treatment.
Yeah, it's a very, very safe. So, but think about it. At the beginning, there was the early 1990s. I go, I'm about to use this strong magnetic pulse to stimulate myself. I always tested myself before I do patients.
That's very ethical.
So that back then, I have a bunch of students in my laboratory. I just call my wife. I go, check with me in 20 minutes. If I don't call you, you call 911. That's how I started.
Were you really afraid?
I was afraid, yeah. Because with that strong magnetic pulse into your brain, there is a slight...
But were you doing it stronger than they're giving it to me? Because
yeah, stronger than that, yeah.
Because I really enjoy it. I love it.
It is. Now I can tell that this is a very lovely things. So there was a chance I can raise the temperature in the brain. I may cook my brain. I was so afraid of it. And but what's interesting that 20 minutes after treatment, I feel calm, really calm. You can tell how talkative I am. But after treatment, I don't feel I want to say anything. My students said, "You're calm." I go, "Yeah, I feel that." And about an hour later, I start to feel slightly euphoric. So I go, "Wow, that's something unique." Then
that have to do with meditation?
that's not meditation. It's a pure magnetic pulse. So I flew to my laboratory in China, and then we started another animal studies in a bunch of rats. And we have a large group of rats treated and without treated, and then compared the brain. And then later we found that the stimulation increased the dopamine. You know, the dopamine is a pleasure juice in our brain. And then we found that the dopamine increased about 6 times after 5 days of stimulation in the rats.
Wow.
I go, oh, that's something real.
Yes.
So immediately when I come back, the first job I want to apply to was Parkinson's. I know Parkinson's patient they don't have a serotonin, they have a dopamine issues. I go, if I can raise dopamine, I can treat Parkinson's, right? Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, I failed painfully. There was no response at all. 4 patients all failed. No, because of Parkinson's, the chronic Parkinson's patients, their dopamine cells already dead. No matter how much you squeeze, there's nothing you can squeeze out. It's dry. So that was a tragedy. I go, oh God, nothing happens. At the same time, somebody used the technology to treat depression. I go, I understand why depression works, because you increase a whole lot of dopamine. Mm-hmm. I go, what's next besides the Parkinson's? And immediately I come out with the idea of substance abuse. When you use cocaine, use alcohol, use whatever the drug, the common pathway after that initial administration of drug is a high.
After the high?
The high is a dopamine, right? I go, what if I take your drug away, detox, and I give you stimulation to increase your intrinsic dopamine? That may give you a soft landing. So that's how I started approaching my local substance recovery program. And then I worked there for a couple of years, and then we treated collectively about 500 subjects.
Oh,
and
500.
500 is a lot. So when we look back, we found that 72% of them responded very nicely to the treatment. So that was a very exciting. I intended to expand the company to do a lot of things, but unfortunately, that was the recession in the U.S. market.
It was
2004, 5, 6, yeah, and so not many patients can afford $35,000 upfront fee for a month, that type of thing. So that the business didn't go on too well. So that I take away all my 4 machines and then open up a new clinic. I want to treat the other diseases. So that was a time I had a chance to work with a family from London, and they're a very, very sweet family. They have 2 boys. Suffer from a severe developmental disorder, very similar to autism.
Very similar to what?
Autism.
Autism.
They failed almost every kind of treatment in the Harvard, Yale, Johns Hopkins. They tried everything. The researchers, scientists tell them, kids' brain is normal. We don't know what it is. And then they have a seizure, no language. So, and I go, let me look at the brain. And then my recording shows that the brain looks almost identical to my suicidal patient, the anxiety group. And that I feel like a stab in my heart. It's a pain. I go, people.
The brain of the children looked like
my suicidal
patients.
Absolutely. So that I know how painful the suicidal patient is. They want to kill themselves because of severe anxiety. But thinking about those autistic kids, they haven't developed language yet. They suffer from the exactly same type of pain. The only thing they can do is bang their head against concrete. And I have a patient many, many years ago that can bend the concrete until the skull crack. So we have put a sponge and a helmet on it to protect it. So now I understand why the kids behave like that. So I go, I may never be able to help them speak, but at least I want to find out if I can ease their anxiety. So that's very emotional at the moment. So I go, if I can help this family, just one family, I think my life is worth it. So that's how I started. And we treated for about 2 months. And one younger kid told the parents, they said, I want to play that magic wand. And they start, this first language is about magic wand.
Wow.
I was so touched.
He
was talking, yeah. And then the older kids, a more severe kid, the seizure dropped so significantly. So parents are very happy, and then they moved back to London, and I introduced the technology to my friends in London, and they started treatment over there. So ever since then, I go, all right, I decided to help autism. And I have students named Alex Ring. So I said, all right, Alex, don't go medical school, and stay with me. I will run a small clinic. The clinic is about 800 square feet. It's very small, and he and I work there. I read the EEG. He treat the patients by putting the patients on the lap, and lock the kids in the lap, and play the video game so that kids will not move around. And then every 6 seconds, just to give a treatment. Put the magic wand. So that was the time. And then I go, if I can help one more patients, I'll be happy. Now
your life would be worth it.
It'll be worth it. And then one patient's a 7-year-old, only have a 30-pound body, have 160 seizures a day. I mean, it's horrible. And after 3 weeks of treatment, the seizure dropped to once a week, and kids start to talk, and it grows 16 pounds and 1.5 inches. So my dean from a medical school said, hey, I think you need to chase the dream. This is a disease, never have any treatment, and now you found something. Get out to do something. So that was the time I was finally decided to leave academic community and then open
a clinic,
which is medical schools and research.
Yeah.
So I go, all right, I'm going to start myself. So that's the beginning of it, about 4.5 years ago. So I started to treat autism and everything. And my friend Conway, which you met recently.
Yes.
He's a wealthy person, and then he is a video game company owner. He owns the exclusive rights for Street Fighters, and a very wealthy person. Mm-hmm. And he got nothing to do with this medical things. His whole job is creating the video game, and also teach people how to drive Porsche and Ferrari, and that kind of fancy things. I have nothing to do with that. But he and I are good friends. So periodically I sit in his fast car, to get a little thrill, that kind of thing. So one day he brought a celebrities' kids to my clinic. He said, you said you can treat autism. I have an autistic kid. Why don't you treat it? So that's the time he realized that many patients we treated is real. And he later told me, he said, all right, I'm not going to go home anymore. I'm going to go sit in your office. So he sat in my office for 6 months every day, just watching.
Just watching.
Yeah. After that, he dumped his business. He said, I'm not going to do this anymore. He said, I'm going to help you.
It was so, I'm sorry, but superficial.
Yeah, compared to
what you were doing.
Yeah, he said, I never seen so rewarding. Patients crying, give me a kiss and everything. He said, this is this is not something money can buy. Mm-hmm. So he said, I'm going to help you. So he jumped in, and they start to fund the work, pay the payroll. We hire more people, and so that's how we started. Now
that's 4 years.
4.5 years ago, yes. And then very soon we have another founder who happened to be the CEO of a China Trust, a retired CEO. And then we recruited him from Vancouver and said, hey, JJ, just join us. And he came over and started to expand in the international scale. We raise fund. We reach out to many other places. Now, as of today, we have visit Congress and senators for about 12 times. I met at least 100 congressmen and senators in the United States. Mm-hmm. So for 2 years, the congressional bill, the Defense Department bill, already described our clinic, our business, in the congressional bill twice, 2 years, for 2 years.
They described?
They basically, suggest that they need to fund this my work. So
but it was still a suggestion, or is it?
It's in the bill. It's in fact. It's in the bill.
It's a fact.
It's a fact. So that also we met with our VA leadership for many times. So that VA, U.S. VA is the largest medical chain.
I was going to ask you, what is VA?
VA is a Veterans Administration.
Oh, yes.
So these are the ones that deal with more than 8 million veterans in the United States, and then more than 5.5 million veterans suffering from the disease that we can help.
And you are talking about
PTSD, TBI, the traumatic brain injury, and many other peripheral nerve injury.
Traumatic stress syndrome. Also?
Post-traumatic stress syndrome, that's called PTSD. And the traumatic brain injury is a physical impact in the brain.
So more than 8 million...
More than 8 million people have a problem, veterans have a problem. And at least 5 million we can help. So that in the past 3 years, Conway and I, we donated about $7 million because I cannot charge veterans. They sacrifice their life for the country, and we happen to be that beautiful country, and I cannot charge them. So we put our almost 100% of our profit into treatment for veterans. So we're so proud that in the past 3 years, we treated about 360 veterans. At least 100 of them, without our treatment, will be dead already. So we bring them all back.
You're talking about suicide?
Suicide, pure suicide, yeah. So that these results have become so recognizable. Our government saw it, and our Defense Department saw it. So they said, this is something I cannot let go. So the Veterans Administration decided to set up a special program for us to contract with them so that we can run a pilot program to test the feasibility, how the government can work with us. And then we also set up a very large clinical trial with the Defense Department, and then we intended to go through that and then get FDA approval so that we can quickly distribute it to the entire military. So those are the things that I think is very important. But what's interesting that today we had a meeting with our colleagues in Monterey here, in the scientists. One young scientist challenged our finding, saying, "Oh, you need to do research. This is not right, and this is a." I go, "That's."
I got that from some of my followers.
Yeah, but I think that's very good. I like that. But unfortunately, they haven't seen the real world job. This is not something you can comfortably sit in your laboratory, play with the tiny, teeny little things. We're dealing with the real life. If you waste any minute, one life may be lost. So that's time we feel so obligated. We have to quickly jump in, and then the resources we have put up together is not any university's job. This is a government, the large scale of work. So I feel so obligated. I want to tell people, jump in to help. And at this time, we're facing such a crisis in our society. It's not just United States. For example, autism. We have more than 2% in the industrialized society have autistic children. Millions upon millions of people, family have autism, and PTSD, stroke, comatose, cancer, chemotherapy patients. These are all the patients where I can help. But
including
chemotherapy,
patients?
Yeah, very effective. When you have a chemo, you develop a chemo brain, so that people feel depressed, foggy, memory loss, and everything because of the damage to the brain. Now we found a way we can also bring those people back, and we have tested about 14 of them, very successful. So I go, I love to answer all these academic questions. That's interesting, but I'm over that stage now because we're facing such a reality that, as you mentioned,
and you're having a lot of results.
Absolutely. And then the humanity, the pressure. I only have one life to live, right? Even if I put 10 lives in there, I cannot even accomplish, a portion of it. So that all I can do is that I want more people to join in, to use their talent, resources to push this wagon together. And I know this is so new. This is very different from any medical findings. So this is
How do the psychiatrists see you? As a menace?
Psychiatry has a different schools. If I talk to, let's say, a psychodynamic psychiatrist, like a Freudian school type of understand this because they are interested in who you slept with when you were 2. So these are based on the pure dynamic model. And I'm not saying this is wrong, and I think it's beautiful. I went through psychoanalysis training when early years. But if it's a pure pharmaceutical-based psychiatry, they may also have a problem. Because I gave a talk to many.
They like chemicals into your
chemicals. They always
into your body.
Chemicals and neurotransmitters and that type of model. And then when I explain to them, this is based on physics. This is the principle of physics. How the brain metabolizes energy, how the information is encoding, how the entrainment can be formed up by repetitive stimulation, that type of physical model. And because unfortunately our medical education is not emphasizing on those subjects, so that it's also difficult. However, I do have a group of a very open-minded psychiatrists working with us, including our Dr. Ramos here. He's classically trained in psychiatry, but he's willing to learn. He said, something new, I like to know. And he said, I may never understand the fundamental physics of it, but I see my patients getting better in front of my eyes. So I have to say there is something real there. So he's open-minded enough to give a try. And also I have a lot of neurosurgeons working with us. So that's fascinating. I thought this is against neurosurgeons' principle, but now, to my surprise, neurosurgeons are more mechanically trained. It's easier for them to understand what the neuromodular
than the psychiatrist.
So
neurosurgeons.
Yeah. So most of our group working with us are neurosurgeons. And then as of today, we work with probably 6 major universities and large hospitals in the United States. And one of the major one is University of Southern California. It's a large one. And we
Very large.
We work with the...
in San Diego?
No, in Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles.
Yeah, and we work with the USIS, which is the Medical School of the Defense Department. That's a very, very important school. And then we also work with the Swedish Medical Center. That's one of the largest medical chain in the United States. So these are the major academic and like Cleveland Hospital Clinic.
Cleveland Clinic?
Yeah. And then Mount Sinai in New York.
That's in New York, isn't it?
So these are the major hospitals already expressed strong interest in us. So I go, that's a very good opportunity for everybody to work together to share the resources, and then very soon we may have something new and non-invasive can benefit millions of patients. So. And today I'm here in Monterey to really support this small clinic that Magla and Pedro set it up. And I think that they're brave. They jump in so early. And but the beauty of this is they experience and they witness the effect while they were in California. So I think that their motivation is very obvious. They want to help more people. So that's the one I feel like
they have benefited themselves, and now they want to help other people benefit.
Absolutely. So that.
And what type of patients do you think, or are coming to this recent opened small clinic? What type of patients?
This is what we call the indication. What type of patients we can treat? You can answer these questions in different ways. In medical field, we tend to see this: what type of patient, what type of disease. And to me, we only treat brain. We don't treat patients.
You don't mind you don't care for labels.
That's right.
Oh, I love that.
It's a very different models. Okay, so if you look at our psychiatry Bible book called the DSM-5,
I've heard.
Right. So you counted maybe 100 different diseases in that book. But when I look into the brain, I only have 2 diseases.
Which are?
Which is one very chaotic, high energy brain. The other one is overly synchronized, low energy brain. And these are the brain tend to be anxiety, panic attack, schizophrenia, ADHD, or even autism. They're on one side. We call it high energy brain. And Parkinson's patients, Alzheimer's, major depressive disorder, they may belong to the other low energy brain. I go, as long as they are significantly deviate from norm, and then my job is to bring them into the middle. That's my job. I don't care how you label them. And then we found lucky enough that in the past 5.5 years, we've treated over 2,000 kids, 500 substance abuse people, 360 PTSD, and then a couple of dozens of comatose and stroke patients. Sure enough, that's a very interesting model. If you can successfully tune up or tune down their brain to fit them into the middle, symptoms disappeared.
Wow.
So that's, you can tell this is so novel, so new to the most of people to look at a disease. But I go, God never say you have to go by disease. He created things in a very simple way, right? So that I go, the simple doesn't mean it's not right. And as long as this one works, that's exactly. I feel this is a little romantic.
It is. It sounds poetry to me, to tell you the truth.
That I feel the same way. So
that's
how
great.
we are.
And now people might ask, is there a guarantee? I guess there's no guarantee if you take a treatment.
No, guarantee is a wrong word for medical treatment, because our disease is so complex. You can have so many different causes to have the same type of symptoms, or the same cause can end up with a very different type of symptoms. And for example, you have Down syndrome, you have an extra chromosome in your body. I can treat the symptoms, but I never be able to treat your chromosome. Your nuclear signatures are still there. I never treat it. And then also, statistically, certain percentage just not working. So now we treat a variety of problems. For autism, we have about 55% of the patients responded very nicely. And for PTSD, more than 80% of them responded very nicely.
Oh, it's great.
Oh, very great. That's why we push our Congress, push our government so hard that we need to do this. However, for Alzheimer's, for example, initially when you treat it, they all responded, 100%. But if you stop, 100% relapse. And for Parkinson's, again, I know
that doesn't work.
It doesn't work at all. So that I have no way to guarantee anything. But right now we were challenged by many other groups. So we want to work with the insurance, with the government. I go, I am so confident about this technology. I'm willing to take the challenge. We only charge by results. You, insurance company, can set up a rule and say, if you can reduce the symptoms by 20% or 80% or whatever the rule, that if you can reach that, we pay you. If you don't, we don't pay. I go, I like that idea. Medicine should be outcome-based. If you cannot help patients, you don't deserve it.
Why should you charge? Well, that's very ethical also.
I know. So, but now, right, when you go to hospital, they charge you anyway, regardless. So that's a big business. But I feel that someday the outcome-based system should be the main one. If this is going to work out, I don't know, because I'm challenged the entire medical system. I may never be successful, but I'd like to be a pioneer to try that.
Well, congratulations. It's been wonderful to talk to you, and I really wish you a long and healthy life.
Oh, thank you.
And so you can keep on contributing while you are very happy.
Because
it must be very satisfying to be able to help hundreds or thousands of people.
Yeah, when you see, I remember a case that very, very influential, smart young people from our special force, and who participated in thousands of wars to help this United States. But after that, 10 years passed, he suffered from severe PTSD, and then one day he carved his name on the bullet and put his gun in the mouth. He said, "I'm checking out." And at that moment, you feel that you want to do everything to help. So finally, we helped him. Now he's our major advocate, to help many other veterans. So just one case like that, you feel like your life is so worth it. Now I have a 360.
That's wonderful. And now I'm going to ask you this last thing. When you see the device, the Wonder, how were we, Wonder, the device that they put over your head, it seems so simple. It's like a magnetic with some electricity.
It's called electric and magnetic. It's a very, very simple machine.
What is it that makes it special?
It's special. Is not about a machine. Okay, this is the discovery is over over like 120 years already. Electric current going through a coil, in a wire coil, and you have a magnetic pulses can be generated in a sort of a right hand rule. That the current going on your finger, the magnetic pulse going through your thumb. That's a sort of perpendicular law. So magnetism is the most ancient physics law. That our light, our sound, in a radio, they're all electromagnetic. Just coupled in the 90 degrees. So the machine has nothing special. The special part is that I can identify your intrinsic characteristic of your brain, and then use your biological matrix to drive that machine and feedback to you. That's how unique it is.
So my brain is synchronized to the machine?
That's right. Your brain sends a signal to the machine. The machine feedback to you.
Oh, so it's going on and it's a loop?
It's a loop.
I thought it was only coming into me.
Yeah, well, at this time, of course, we recorded at different time, and then going back. The theory is picking your things and shoot back to you. But then my next version will be real-time loop. Just your brain, 5 seconds data, control the machine shoot back, and then you record another 5 seconds, so that you go like a real-time loop. This will be my next version. But
when is that coming out?
Machine's already there. So we're just testing this. Very soon. Everybody will be able to carry a helmet. My whole goal is to make hundreds of millions of machines and then distribute it to everybody's home.
Oh, no kidding.
I'm serious.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
So we're working with several major development engineering firms. So you would have it in your house, and you would do the treatment yourself. It's a low energy machine, so totally no risk.
Wow.
You tune up yourself.
Oh, Doctor, this has been incredible. Thank you so much. Oh, and just one last thing. When you come and when you go, in the beginning and then middle and then at the end, you are shown your own EG and how it has changed.
That's right. So there are efficacy evaluation part of them is judged by how well your physiological system responded, which is your EEG. So that if your EEG improve, and then we just stop the treatment. You'll reach a plateau, and then we want you to
stop it.
We stop it. We just want you to develop and improve by yourself. So this is like a pendulum. If you push the pendulum to a certain level, you don't have to keep pushing. The brain will start to oscillate by itself.
Oh, I see.
So that's the idea. This is based everything on the resonant phenomena. Resonant is the most fundamental physics. So I go, if the swing can work in the park, I believe the brain will work the same way.
But once you push it, because you had a treatment of, let's say, 4 weeks, you push it, and it goes up and down and up and down, like the swing.
Yes.
But then finally the swings start going down. Slowing.
That's not the case. This is just like swing is a simple model. The reason it's going down because you have friction, because gravity pulling it downwards.
Okay.
Right? Air friction, you stop it. But the brain is constantly have an energy push. So you have you take a food, you have glucose, you have ATP in the brain. So that this oscillation is more like a radio set. When you finally tune the radio set, as long as your battery is there, it never stops. It constantly oscillates to tune into that frequency.
Wow, and so you take one treatment and you are done if it worked for you.
Usually, but depends on the type of diseases. So as I mentioned earlier, that if you have Alzheimer's, if you stop it, you stop.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah, but if you treat autism, Yeah, and the young kids develop the language. You stop the language, you will never go. You'll stay with it.
Well, thank you so much, Doctor. It's
It's
been
such a
wonderful.
pleasure.
Thank you so much. And I guess it will be difficult to see you again now that you are
No,
all
I
over the
will come. I
world.
will come. And I know I've been invited by the Institute of Psychiatry in Mexico City.
Uh-huh.
And we're discussing the research grant in August. I may come here again. So, because on the way, I love this country. I'll find every excuse to come.
Okay, you will be every
Particularly, I
time
will come
extremely
looking forward
welcome.
Talk to you. This is I feel like you're an artist. This is the first time I talk to an artist.
Thank you. I feel like an artist. I cannot show it easily, maybe through my music only.
Very
But
well.
yeah, I do feel more like an artist than anything else.
Your question is also very intriguing. It's not in a scientific sort of interview. It's more of a artistic way. I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you. And for me, it has been a blessing and a privilege to have met somebody as brilliant and as humane as you are. God bless you forever.
Thank you very much. Pleasure is mine.